Hello friends, welcome back to another video. My name is Luisana. This video is going to feature some dies by KSCRAFT. I cannot remember the name of it, but I received them as a gift from a friend on Facebook and I am very thankful for that, so I decided to make this video for her. For this card, even though these dies are meant to be shakers, I decided to go for something a little bit different than that because apparently I have a shaker card addiction, according to my friends. You know who you are, Sandra. These dies are actually very nice and very affordable, so I have been loving playing with them. I chose to go with a non-white cardstock for this project once again because I really like the look of that for now. I am using my ice cube tray in an effort to stay organized. You will see here soon that didn't really work out very good because I ended up making a mess, which, yeah, lesson learned, I need to be more careful. So I end up cutting 3 of these 2 dies and then separating them on my ice cube tray so that I can be a little organized for as long as it lasted. And yeah, so here I am cutting the last one and separating it once again. So the next step, since I knew that I wanted it to be a little bit thicker, is to use fun foam from Joann's. I actually own a lot of this and this is my favorite thing to use for adding dimension to my projects. And I split my 2 dies here since I am only going to be using the one die that has the die cuts to it, and I am going to be cutting this die with the fun foam 3 times. I did have to put a shim underneath my die and run it through my Gemini a couple of times so that it would cut all the way through because the fun foam, it's kind of thick, but hey, we made it work. So right here, I believe it's right before the mess happened. And yeah, so I'm gonna attempt to cut it twice more, and keep organizing it on my ice cube tray. Yeah, so 3 times out of that one, the whole hand. And, oh no, it wasn't. All right, so one more time after this. How are you guys liking these videos? Oh, there it is, because I had the tray right there as the plates come out of my Gemini and it bumped it and everything fell right out of it. I was quite disappointed, but lesson learned not to keep my ice cube tray right there. So now I am using the same exact die and I am going to be die cutting with fun foam using the same steps as before, only the part that has the fingers. And I'm gonna do these 3 times. The reason behind this, it's because I want the fingers to have twice as much dimension as the rest of the hand so that it looks, I wouldn't say realistic, but it adds more interest to it. So this is the second time right here, and just very carefully going through each of the pieces and removing them. And now I'm die cutting my last one. Again, I had to run it through my Gemini a couple of times in order for it to work, but hey, it was worth it. Here is the last one that I am die cutting, and remember how the first step we die cut 3 times with the cardstock that's non-white. We're gonna be gluing all of these together soon. So here I am showing you the pieces that I die cut with the fun foam. I am going to be gluing both the top 2 parts right there together. So I believe that is the pinky finger, is it? Yeah. So that way it is going to be thicker than the rest of it, and I am going to do that with each and every single one of those fingers. And here I have sped it up so that it's not a 20-hour video. In all transparency, this whole card took about 1 hour and 30 minutes, which it isn't too bad. So notice how I didn't align those 2 pieces perfectly right there. So I just used a pair of scissors to trim off the excess, which is not a big deal. So there you go. And I have to do that times, I don't know what, because I made 3 different ones. So now that I have done all of those, I am going to glue my cardstock that we cut out at first to the fingers, and then the bottom one to the palm, I believe that's called. So yeah, I'm going to remove the backing of the fun foam, because the fun foam that I use it has adhesive on one side, which I really like. This piece was a little bit tricky to adhere to my cardstock because it had different shapes to some parts of it, but it's okay because if it didn't align, which it won't because I didn't do a very good job at that, all I do is grab a pair of detail scissors, any kind of small scissors. I believe these are by Tim Holtz. See the excess right there? I am just gonna trim that off with my scissors, and nobody will be the wiser and know that something was there that wasn't supposed to be. Nobody will find out ever. Alright, so here I am gluing the tiny little pieces that go to the palm of the hand right there. And since I have that adhesive on my fun foam, it makes it really easy to do that. Now it is time to do the fingers, and I am just removing the backing on my foam and placing the fingers cardstock on it. And look at that dimension. How cool is that? So here I am speeding up the rest of the process, and I ended up using my tweezers a lot because I have fat fingers. It was not very easy to work with that. So yeah, you saw me cutting a little bit of the excess on one of the fingers right there because I didn't align them very good. And here you go, all 3 hands are ready to be glued together. Actually, before that, I am going to distress them or ink them a little bit using Antique Linen Distress Ink by Tim Holtz. And I chose this color because I just wanted to add a little bit of a shadow or shading around the edges of all of the pieces so that it would have a little bit more interest to it and not look quite as flat. It is definitely a step that you can skip, but I enjoyed it. It didn't take me that long to do this. And by the magic of YouTube, it's all done in the next second. Now I am going to glue everything together with my favorite glue, which is Barely Art Glue, and just dotting here and there on the back of each of those pieces. And I found out that it's a lot easier to glue the fingers where they need to go if you have placed them in their respective spots prior to moving them. Hopefully that makes sense. So that's what I did right there, so that I knew exactly where they went. And now everything is put together, and it's time to think about my base, my background. These dies right here are by Trinity Stamps, and it is a mini slimline die set with like a stitched edge to it, which I love. And I have a half of an 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock right here, and I put my die on top of it so that I can figure out where I wanted to ink, and I marked it with a pencil so I knew the area that I needed to work on. These are the inks I am using: Distress Oxides, Peacock Feathers, Mustard Seed, and Worn Lipstick, I believe. And I have brushes for each of them that I got on Amazon, which you're about to see. And that holder right there I also got on Amazon. And that mat that my inks and my brushes are sitting on, it is so perfect to hold my inks, you guys. It is so perfect, so inexpensive. I got it on Amazon. It is a bar mat. I will try to remember to put a link in the description, but it was less than $9, and it holds all the shapes out there. Well, the teardrop shape is a little bit tricky for the ink pads. You know, those teardrop shape ink pads that Tucineco makes. But anyways, it's really good. Less than $9. Alright, so I didn't really know what I wanted to do for the background, but I kind of wanted it to have like a groovy feel to it. However, I didn't know how I wanted that to happen. So I just kind of went with it, and to be quite honest with you all, my blending is not the best. I know it, you know it, but hey, it doesn't matter. I had a lot of fun doing this. And I did, I believe, 3 layers of all of these inks. So after I did 1 layer, I went with my heat gun and I heat set everything. I'm not sure if that's going to show in the video or not. But then after it was heat set, because it is oxide inks and they take a long time to dry, I went back at it and applied the colors all over again where they were supposed to go. And yeah, I did this 3 times. So it looks so messy right now, doesn't it? I know it, yeah, but I think when the project when it was all done, you don't even notice all of those mistakes. And I was pretty happy with the way it turned out. I probably should have sped this up a little bit more because it's taken a long time. But yeah, so just go back and forth when you're blending, making a background. You have to be patient because it does take a long time. So here I am doing my final heat set, and no, not the final one. Just kidding. Alright, so yeah, ink blending one more time. By the way, those brushes that I am using, you guys, they are amazing, and they are also from Amazon. I am going to be featuring every single thing that I use on my videos on my YouTube channel here soon, so that you guys can see where I get all of my super affordable supplies. So alright, this is the last time right there. I am heat setting my background, making sure that all of that ink is staying put, and I'm gonna die cut that with the Trinity Stamps die. How are you guys liking that finger snap trick I'm doing? Alright, you guys, here is a really cool trick that I want to show you. I don't do math, I hate numbers. This is how I figure out how I want or how big my base needs to be, because I wanted my card to have a white border. So I put my background on top of it, exactly where it would go, and then leaving a little bit of a white border, I mark on top of that with a pencil. And you can see that right there. There's the mark on one side and the mark on the other side. And using those, I will get my paper trimmer and I will cut my perfectly sized background, matte, I believe it's called, so that it fits my inked background perfectly. So at this point, I realized I wanted to use that same piece of white cardstock that I just got to make my card base, you know, the folding part of the card. So I aligned it with another piece of cardstock right there, and then I cut it right where I marked it. You'll see that right here. And then I just folded that piece of cardstock in half, and I believe it was 4 1/4. It is not gonna be 4 1/4 because it's a mini slimline. But here you're about to see exactly what I do. That is a Stampin' Up! Bone folder that I use. And yeah, so it's a lot bigger than what we need it to be. And I'm gonna go ahead and glue my groovy background to the white base right there using my Barely Art glue. And after that, I am going to glue that panel to my card base. And I'm just eyeballing it, you know, it looks fine. There you go. And now I am gluing that to the card base that I just showed you guys how to make, making sure that the edges align perfectly. And it is important to do this step before you add your die cuts on top of it, because I wouldn't want my paper trimmer to ruin it. And now I am adding the whole thing to my paper trimmer, putting it in there, and aligning the edges with that little wire on my Fiskars trimmer and cutting it. And look at that, it is the perfect size. Just skipping ahead as I am gluing here, I decided not to add a sentiment just because, I don't know, I didn't feel any of the sentiments that I had. However, looking back at my card, I feel like if I was to do it all over again, I would have put the die cuts a little bit higher than they are so that I could put a sentiment under it. But I think it looks really cool. It could say something like, "You're awesome," "Good luck," something like that. And there you guys have it. How fun is that? You could even add something to look like fingernails so that they're painted, but that's how I wanted it to look, and I am very happy with it.